we've stepped inside. There you go, click. Anyway, we've stepped inside. I'm going to show you the components in here. Now, our Cougar, our original solar system in the Cougar had individual outlets. And it's a long story why, but that's the way we set it up. The outlets, you know, of course, fed off the inverter, but here we've gone to a sub panel.
Well, one of the main reasons that we did your Cougar originally with separate outlets was because we'd have to use a transfer switch, and your Cougar, we were able to run individual inverter outlets throughout your Cougar. It was easier to do it with that because of the way that the slide outs were on your Cougar. This one has two large independent opposing slide outs, and all the kitchen appliances are ran off of a feed that goes into this slide out, and also all of the ones that are in this slide out you guys use. So to get the power through, we'd have to drop the belly pan. It wasn't something that we needed to do with this coach. And the other one, we started out with a Nature Power inverter, and we were going to wire it in, and it's not a pass-through inverter. Whereas after that one got damaged, we went ahead and replaced it with a Magnum inverter. Your Magnum inverter is a pass-through inverter, so that made it to where we could take and use it for this system. What we did is we took individual outlets and we took them out of this system and replaced it. We took a feed, 30 amp feed, went to your Magnum inverter and come out with a sub panel that we have up there that has all your different outlets that are going to be used for inverter use. And that is, you've got your front TV, rear GFI, let's see here, your different GFIs and your microwave. So now you're able to run most everything in your camper that you want to run on the inverter, and they're individually protected.
And once again, this big refrigerator, it has its own inverter, which Van Lee, you know, installed with the RV, as we told you earlier. So we have a few extra.
Yeah.
Edie suggested this 1,000 watt Magnum that came with the RV did not have a remote switch, so we could cut that little inverter on and off. So we purchased one, and he installed it, so we can now cut the inverter off for the refrigerator if we are hooked up to shore power. There's no need to be having it online. Correct?
Yep. I couldn't understand why, as nice as this coach is, and having that Magnum inverter, they would make you go down and turn that inverter off every time that you got to a place where you would hook up to power. Because if not, it's continuously running with inverter power. It's running that refrigerator, and that's working your battery charger, your batteries. And if this was in your cab, like right now, we can turn it on. It's got a bypass switch in there, inverter transfer switch, and it transfers. Right now it's running off the inverter, it's not running off a shore. Well, if you're in the cab, you're getting ready to shut down, you see the green light on, okay, we're ready to go. If you get somewhere and you're set up and you're plugged into the campground, you're like, hey, wait a minute, this is on, it's off, you're done. That should have been something that's just common sense. For as good a quality as the inverter is in the coach that they built it, that is something I think they should have made standard.
Yep.
But we went ahead and put it in there.
I was grateful he recognized that, you know, we had that option, and we purchased it and he put it in. Now this is the original Magnum inverter control. Well, not control.
The controller. It's
controller.
Yeah, it's your controller.
With the various functions. If you own one, you know what they are. We can do numerous things. Adjust, especially like the amperage input. Exactly.
You can, if you're in a location where you're on a 15 amp cord, you can actually adjust this Magnum's the amount of shore power it takes to produce the battery charging abilities of it. We have this one set to 30 amps because it is on a 30 amp breaker, so we don't want it to go any higher than 30 amps. That's how this one is. So if between the loads that are on the inverter that pass through the inverter and the consumption of this the shore power coming in for the battery charging, it cannot go over 30 amps.
Yeah, so like when we go to my cousins and we're, as we call it, mooch docking, and we're hooked up to a 15 amp, I reduce it down to 15 amps.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And then the benefit is if you're there, you're working on that, this could be charging on 15 amps, but you can make up the rest of it off of the solar. And you can run, say, your refrigerator off of solar. Just turn this on and run the solar, and that way you're balancing the loads up. That's the glorious thing about solar. You can take and that's one reason we didn't run this refrigerator through the main Magnum, was for the fact that you can, because this is such a good little, you know, that 1,000-watt inverter, it's a nice little inverter that Magnum has. You can run that refrigerator independent from the big one, your big inverter, and that way you can use some shore power. Say you get to some place that there's a 30 amp plug-in. You want to run an air conditioner. You run your air conditioner, you could take this load off the system if the solar's good.
If the solar's good.
So you can balance the loads out. And like you say, you're mooch docking when you're over there, you only got a 15 amp cord. You can use some of it on solar and some of it on the power.
On the power.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're mooch docking you right now.
Yeah, there you go, yeah. Bunch of moochers.
Yeah, a bunch of mooch docking.